Hello and welcome back to the Karma Stories podcast. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today I have 5 stories for you from the TraumatizeThemBack subreddit. The Karma Stories podcast is published to all major podcasting platforms, and you can also read along on YouTube under our @Karma Stories podcast handle. If you have a story you'd like to submit to the podcast, you can do so by email at karmastoriespod@gmail.com. If you enjoy true crime stories, make sure to check out our new podcast, Karma Crime, where we've just released our 5th episode. It's about Bonnie Haim, a woman who went missing over 20 years ago, but her cold case was solved by her own son. That's available right now on every major podcasting platform. Just search for Karma Crime. Alright, on to today's Traumatize Them Back stories. Let's jump right in. This story comes to us from Book Gnome Noel. Thanks for the unwanted advice. Here's why you shouldn't. Today at lunch, I ran into my local grocery store to grab a salad and baked chicken. They have a nice little buffet where you can make your own salad. And as I'm putting mine together, the man in line in front of me comments, "You know, sweetie, eating a salad isn't going to be enough if you're trying to lose weight." I, 43 female, am currently around 220 pounds. I know I'm overweight, and I'm trying to eat healthier for more than just weight loss. I stare at the stranger who has rudely decided to give me advice, and he takes my silence as a need to go further with giving me unwanted advice. "Have you been to the gym at all? You don't look like it. Maybe you should try signing up at one and going from time to time. You might feel better and actually look happier." What this imbecile of a human doesn't know is I'm on a steroid right now and have been for over 3 months. Anyone who has taken steroids for a lengthy amount of time already knows it causes moon face, weight gain, and a whole other mess of medical issues. It also causes horrible mood swings. And oh, I have definitely been feeling the moods lately. It has turned me into a feral and mouthy individual. So I smile toothily at him and go for my most condescending, woman-splaining voice. "Actually, I go 4 to 5 times a week to my local gym, and I'm probably healthier than you are. You look like beer is the only thing you can lift. Not only that, I take a heavy dosage of prednisone for my chronic hives. Do you even know what prednisone is? I'm not sure what your education level is, so let me explain to you. People who have to take lengthy doses of steroids have to deal with things like unwanted weight gain and other unwanted medical changes. Of course, you wouldn't know any of that, seeing as you're a stranger, but that didn't stop you from giving unwanted advice that you really should not be giving. How very self-centered and rude of you. Maybe you should educate yourself on keeping your opinion in your head. You might keep strangers from wanting to throat punch you for your stupidity." His comeback was, "I was just trying to be nice and helpful." My comeback was, "And yet you were neither. Amazing how that did nothing except make you look like an idiot. Want me to give you some unwanted advice?" He wisely turned around and walked out of line, which was the best idea for him, because I was more than ready to give him a long list of advice in retaliation. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called Rose Catlander. It says, "This did traumatize me back because up to a year ago, I was taking prednisone for chronic hives too. For years. So I get the weight gain and mood swings, and I probably would have said something harsher." Opie responded to this one and said, "The demented side of my brain says, give in to the dark side, you know you want to. But honestly, when I'm off this stuff, the idea of being rude and nasty just isn't there. Sorry you had to deal with this stuff as well, it's a nightmare. And I hope you either got rid of them or found something that will keep them away forever." Another commenter down below called Bluff City Tatter said, "Bravo, well done to you. Sorry you have to take prednisone. I think the next time someone comments on my weight, I'm gonna say in my kindliest and confused voice, 'I'm overweight? Really? I had no idea. Thank you so much for pointing that out to me. I never would have figured it out on my own. I'm so grateful for your help." Opie responded to this one and said, "I don't get why people have this urge to even comment on others' weight. All it does is show their own insecurity and makes them look ridiculous. I've had people in the past comment on mine and have deadpanned congratulations on stating obvious things. Your IQ has not increased and you haven't impressed anyone. And that has shut them up in the past. Definitely give those jerks your all with as much sarcasm as you can, because they deserve that verbal slapback. I completely agree, and I don't understand why people think that they can comment on someone else's physical appearance and not get any clapback. Like, they're lucky that all they got from OP was words, because I think that throat punch would have been justified in this situation. Although, this is not legal advice. Can I also just mention that OP is much better under fire than I am, because I would not have been able to deliver that speech to that butthole, because that's something that I would have thought of later on when I'm looking back on the situation and said, oh, I wish I'd said this. This story comes to us from a deleted account. My dad is absent for a different reason than you think. I am a middle child. I was at work talking to some coworkers about my plans for the weekend, as it was going to be my youngest sister's birthday. There are 6 of us in total. Oldest has their own dad, me and my sister have our dad, and the youngest 3 share a dad, so our age range is significant. Another coworker was nearby. Her and another woman are known as the office gossips. She had clearly been listening as she said, wow, she, youngest sibling, is so much younger than you, your parents must be exhausted. I laughed and said something about my mom loves having kids around. She asked if I had a picture, so I showed her. For context, this coworker has seen my older brother because he has picked me up from the office on a few occasions. A coworker who is a friend of mine told me the following week that the nosy coworkers had been talking about how me, my older brother, and younger sister do not look alike, and would not believe we were siblings if they were not told. I think they initially thought we were adopted. My friend said it's because we all look really like our dads. My friend told me she wanted to let me know because she wasn't thinking when she responded, but knows they are gossips. I just kept it in the back of my mind. A few months later, we were in the break room talking about growing up. I said growing up we did not have much money for holidays and days out, but I loved visiting our grandparents who lived on a lake, and my older brother's grandparents who were in a small town who did lots of seasonal events. The nosy lady said something like how lovely it was to grow up with our grandparents even if our dads weren't involved. I smiled and ignored the comment until one said to the other, quietly as I don't think I was meant to hear this, "This is why I taught my daughters the value of a good marriage. When I was raised, people work through hardship in marriages, not just start again and keep having babies with the next best thing." I said, as loud as I could without shouting, "I could not agree with you more, nosy coworkers. This is exactly how I was raised. It's so important to work on a committed relationship like that and not give up on the first hurdle. Such a shame for my mom that her husband kept dying on her. I'm glad she was able to bounce back and keep finding the next best thing." The nosy coworkers' faces went white. Some other coworkers looked like the shocked Pikachu meme, or they looked away. One of the nosy coworkers started to stutter and say, "That wasn't what I meant. It wasn't about you," or something like that. I said, "I really don't care," and left the room. Additional notes, my mother has never been married, not even to my youngest 3 siblings' father, and was separated from my father and my older brother's father when they passed, but nosy coworkers do not need to know that, laugh out loud. Nosy coworkers avoid me as much as possible now, but I hope I traumatize them enough to mind their business in the future. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called One Hopeful One. It says, "I can picture the nosy coworker waking up in the middle of the night, reliving the horror of the moment when she insulted a widow and her fatherless children." Another commenter down below called 4 Feet of Confusion said, "My daughter's father passed shortly after her first birthday. He's been gone for almost 20 years now, but I will still get comments about how I shouldn't have made bad decisions that led me to being a single mom. My favorite response is to offer to buy them a shovel so they can go dig him up and ask him why he's been slacking the last couple decades. They usually go away about that time. Laugh out loud." Alright, OP, if you were able to overhear them making comments about you in the break room, then I'm sure other people heard it as well. I think it's time to actually take a report on this with HR, because your coworkers really have no rights to be talking about you like that, especially out in the open. I mean, people gossip, I understand it, but that's not something you do in the break room at work. This story comes to us from Namery. Don't hold customers hostage while rambling about investments. 2 to 3 years back, just after the last lockdown had lifted, I had some bank trouble. The bank and the people of my apartment complex both updated their systems, and somehow that led to double withdrawals of rent money and then payments being cancelled. Apparently, lockdowns left IT bored, but with not enough motivation to bug test their work. Anyway, I had to come in person to show my ID and have a short talk. The bank counselor took the opportunity to try to get me to invest money into one of those long-term investment funds. I had nothing against him shooting his shot. I might have even appreciated it to be informed of opportunities if he would not have been this pushy. I wonder why. It's not like I have tons of money lying around. He rambled about investments while I still had my banking issue to solve. He basically held me hostage with the banking issue unsolved while he would not stop talking. First, I told him that I would think about it, but I would like to get back to my problem. I'm not good with being too blunt or harsh, something I work on. Maybe he noticed because he kept going. After his second insistence, I mentioned I was also checking out other investments, true, and wouldn't make decisions today. Then he went on about the chance I would miss, and I should just do it while I'm here. This was the point I got slightly annoyed. A no is a no. And I got a bit more firm about, no, I will not sign anything today, and can we please get back to the issue I'm here about? Maybe he was just too invested in making a sale? Maybe he thought I would bend if he just pushed hard enough? The guy would just not stop. So I bluntly told him something along the lines of, I don't do long-term investments because I have a heart issue and I might suddenly end up in the hospital and need liquid funds, or I might die any day. I have to admit, seeing this overly self-confident man gape like a fish and turn an interesting shade of pink felt good. I'm a bit ashamed to admit. My banking issue was solved quite fast with not one trace of this I know better than you behavior of before, and apologies by a guy who couldn't meet my eyes anymore. I was out of the bank 10 minutes later, my purse filled with pens and chocolate that he somehow dug out of some cupboards. I hope he learned that no means no. And yes, I have heart issues. I will probably end up in the hospital or dead one day due to it, but let's hope it'll be way in my 60th or after retirement. So yes, exaggerated, but not a lie. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called Catless Boy Mom. It says, having worked in banking, I know the pressure to sell is insane. I also know that if a customer isn't interested, you just move on. I'm sorry you had to share your medical information like that, but good for you for standing your ground. Here's hoping you enjoy many healthy, happy years. Okay, I understand that the situation sucked for OP because they were trying to get something done and they were being basically harassed about investing by the person behind the counter. But I also understand it kind of from that person behind the counter's perspective, because they probably have management behind them somewhere going, you need to keep on selling, push it as hard as you can, we got quotas to make, if you don't make those quotas, you won't be here anymore. So yeah, there's a fine line between keeping the customer happy and not trying to oversell them, but also trying to keep your job at the same time. This story comes to us from Nildrohane454. Jerk-off neighbor needs to learn some patience. To set the scene, where I'm at, we got about 5 inches of snow in the big storm. I have an electric snow shovel, which is basically one step down from a snowblower. It just throws the snow out in front of you, and there's no way to change the direction. Plus, like a snowblower, you're at the mercy of the wind. Finally, I am quite sick, likely from RSV. Today, I was clearing the snow out in front of my house. There is no driveway, just a small front yard, the sidewalk, then the street. Neighbor to my left hasn't shoveled yet, but the one to my right has. I clear out what's in front of my house, then walk back to my steps, coughing along the way, to take a break before cleaning up what my shovel threw onto the neighbor's shoveled sidewalk. Turns out, jerk-off neighbor was just chilling in his truck, parked on the side street next to his house, pretty sure just smoking, stuff. And at this point, he feels the need to sarcastically call out, "Hey, thanks for the snow on my sidewalk." I yell back at him to give me a minute. I then proceed to sit down on my front steps and try to catch my breath between coughing. I then get up and go over the neighbor's sidewalk. Now, the wind is blowing from the west, and wouldn't you know, His nice clean truck with the windows still down is sitting to the east of me. Well, cue instant karma, cause he didn't shovel all the way to the cross street, just the walk right in front of his house. So I go all the way to the heavy snow at the end of the sidewalk, and the wind carries tons of snow onto his truck. Quite a bit onto me too, but worth it. Cause I can't control the wind, don't you know that? I finish up, and he then rolls his window back down. Before he gets a chance to speak, I yell at him, "I was taking a break because I'm sick, you butthole. Are you happy now?" Before coughing and walking away. All I heard was a somewhat meek, "Thank you," carried by the wind to my ears. Pro tip, just because you see someone walking away doesn't mean they're done. Snow removal, even with mechanical devices, is hard work. Your neighbor may just need to take a break. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called OpeningMap6898. It says, "People dying while shoveling snow is such a common occurrence that back when I worked in EMS, someone came up with a term locally for those calls. Dead shovels." Whoa. Another commenter down below called Wooden Combination 80 said, "We got 14 inches in the blizzard this past weekend. I'm coming off of the flu, so I had to take a sit break every 5 to 10 minutes when shoveling the driveway. At some point, I just sat there in the snow questioning my life. I would have laid down, but I was afraid somebody would call 911. Alright, so as I'm sure most of you know already, I live in Canada. And what's Canada known for? Snow and winter. Yay! So we get a lot of snow during the winter here. And I can tell you from experience, when you get 14 inches of snow over a weekend and you need to get that cleared, you need to take breaks, even if you're not coming off of the flu. Even a self-propelled snowblower has to be jerked around corners and pulled backwards manually. It gets tiring really quickly. OP, your neighbor's a butthole. I probably would have aimed that thing right at his window and just let him have it. This story comes to us from Astronaut No 3187. Please just leave my name alone. I'm adopted and in my 30s. It was an open adoption. I know my birth parents, etc. My bio mom gave me a very unique name that leans heavily on Spanish. It's long, and growing up, people could never pronounce it. Now, people do better, but barely. I got so many annoying personal questions. Where are you from? Who named you? What's your ethnicity? What does it mean? And of course, my absolute favorite response, "You're so exotic." When I was in 5th grade, I decided to go by a nickname because it was easier for people and I got fewer questions. As I got older, I also realized I have a really heavy relationship to my full name. It is a tether to a life I never had, and relationships that, at this point, are really strained. But it is also my name and a part of my story, so I never decided to legally change it, though I have thought about it. I work a job where I have to have my legal name for computer logins and on my badge. At a past job, one of my coworkers knew I didn't like going by my full name, but didn't know why, and so would tease me by using it, which is what spurred how I now deal with people around my name. Except for that coworker, people at work are usually fine about it. It's more out in the world when I have to show my ID. They usually will ask me how to pronounce it. Sometimes they'll tell me it's beautiful. Occasionally they'll ask why I don't go by it. And mostly, they'll stop there with my evasive "I just don't." But there's always those nosy people who want to know and feel entitled to your story even when they don't know you. So when they press and ask for the meaning, ask about who named me or family lineage, or try to tell me I should use it, I start resorting to the truth and bluntly saying, "I don't know, I'm adopted. I'm adopted, my birth mother gave me my name." And let me tell you, they squirm, like intensely. I've done a lot of work around the stigma of adoption and had kind of forgotten how non-adopted people feel and view adoption when it comes to adoptees. They love the idea and often hate the reality. But it's so apparent that it makes people so uncomfortable. They don't really know what to say and stammer an apology, or revert to saying it's a beautiful name and dropping eye contact and the subject. And they often, if able, excuse themselves pretty quickly. It gives me joy being able to be honest while also giving people a momentary check on minding their own business. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called UndecisiveWeirdo69. It says, I feel you. My name is very basic, but I look nothing like my adoptive parents. When I tell people I'm adopted, oh my gosh, the intrusive questions they ask is ridiculous. The one that bothers me most is, do I miss my real mom? Like, WTF? My real mom is right here, she raised me. If you mean my birth mom, no, I have no memories of her. Alright, this one here resonates with me because I was an adopted child myself. And I've found as I've gotten older that when I get asked questions about my family history in a conversation that I don't want to be in, I can shut down that conversation just by saying, I don't know, I'm adopted. It truly is nice sometimes just to watch people squirm when they try to deal with that sentence. If you enjoy daily Reddit stories, I encourage you to follow and add us to your favorites on whichever podcasting platform you enjoy the most. And if you're watching and listening on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video. It really helps us out. I thank you for watching and listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.